Hailing frequencies open, and welcome to Star Trek Discoverage, the live podcast that boldly goes into excruciating detail about this week's episode of Star Trek Discovery. I'm your host, Aaron Coker, aka Caliban, and right after the show, I'm going to go on Etsy to see if I can get Burnham's weird leather fanny pack. Joining me on the show, as usual, is my co-host. She's also the co-host of the Generations Geek podcast, a more or less family-friendly celebration of geekdom. It's Ella Pearson. Ella, welcome back to Discoverage.
Thank you.
Here we are in the 13th week of 23 weeks of Trek.
We made it this far.
How are you?
I'm fantastic. I feel like I'm really... this season of Disco, I'm enjoying more than the past two seasons combined, more than Lower Decks, more than Picard. I'm I'm living.
You're all in on this.
Yeah.
Well, that is cool. Thanks for asking, am doing okay. I guess I had kind of a weird weekend. It was fun at times, and it was not fun at other times. But I went to Bloomington, Indiana for the unveiling of the Captain Janeway statue that was commissioned and put together by the Captain Janeway Bloomington Collective. I think I have that right. And it was an amazing time there, the hour that I spent there after having driven 11 hours to get there. But we got a chance to talk to the president of the thing, did an interview with him, got a bunch of pictures of it, and then we hopped back in the car and went 11 hours home. But it was just like a once-in-a-lifetime kind of thing. And if anybody is near Bloomington, Indiana, or thinking about it, Bloomington is a lovely, charming town and also has a Captain Janeway statue in bronze there.
So was it, because of the whole thing? I don't know if you've heard about it. We're not going to conventions. Was it weird going someplace and participating in
that's a great
event?
Yeah, it's a great point. That's the most people I've been around, I think, for about 7 months now. Yeah.
Yeah.
And
was it really cool, or was it nerve-wracking?
It was a little nervous because just the way that it was set up, I think that they probably should have tried to maybe unveil it somewhere else and then bring it to the location maybe afterwards. It's positioned on, they have this little sort of walking, jogging trail that goes through that part of the city. And so it's right there. And it's awesome that people who have no idea who Captain Janeway are going to see this thing day after day, which I think is great. But yeah, it's only a bike or a walking trail. And so, try to fit 300 people in that little area so they can all see the screen and see the statue. And I turned to my girlfriend at one point and we were like, do we leave? Should we go? I mean, we're all, we're doing our best to distance. We've got masks on, but it was a little bit like, oh boy. And then we shot that all to hell when we
ate outdoors too, so.
That's true. It was outdoors, yeah. But we shot that all to hell when we ate at a combination gas station Taco John's on the way home in Wisconsin.
Oh, hell yeah.
And we right after that we're like, let's get COVID tests. Sure, let's do it. And so we did. So hopefully we're okay. I'm pretty sure we're okay. I feel pretty good.
Yeah. I think you're fine.
Stay away from those Taco John's, people. Yeah, it's not good.
Yeah, I believe that. I believe that part of it. I think every other part, I think you're probably fine. Taco John's, combo gas station, not sure about that one.
Yeah. Speaking of COVID-19, which I almost definitely have, I read an article saying that CBS, because of the pandemic, because of how difficult it is to make TV at this time, they have actually trimmed the series orders of several of their major scripted series on the network. Shows like NCIS, Blue Bloods, The Neighborhood, Magnum P.I., and not Discovery, though. Discovery, of course, season 3 is complete, and they are at work on season 4. It has a smaller, series run than something like NCIS, but no plans to trim Discovery as of yet.
So you're telling me that NCIS is still on the air?
Yeah, is that the news that you got from that news story? Yeah.
Yeah. That's what I learned. No, I mean, I wouldn't trim Disco. I feel like that's what they have going for them, right? It's what they used to launch All Access. Like, they need it.
You know what? I do. My initial thought was, well, that's, it's bad for, Blue Bloods this is their last year, so they're going to have a shortened last year. It's too bad for the people who are going to lose work, but I think it's a feather in the cap of Discovery because like you're implying, I think that Discovery
Mm-hmm.
is important. They wouldn't want to cut it down. But then I started to think about the mitigating factors, and it's like, okay, there's less episodes. Also, maybe they're I don't know if they're going to go to Iceland again, but maybe they're shooting in countries that it's not so bad. And as we talked about last week, they've got the Mandalorian wall now too. So maybe with these things in place, they won't have to cut down Discovery.
Okay, but is the Mandalorian wall what they were using in some of the scenes in this episode? Because
No, they haven't.
like shade, they haven't used it yet.
I don't think they've used it yet. No.
Okay, no shade. There were a couple shots this episode where I was like, "That's crunchy."
Oh.
The lines are sharp. Did you not notice that?
I wasn't really looking. But you mean in terms of, they're clearly using a green screen or a blue screen effect here?
Well, it seemed it's there was a couple shots where it was almost like when I just figured something happened last minute, like locations were changed last minute.
Okay.
Or something odd because it seemed like it was like rushed almost. Still very high budget, still very amazing, but then like the cracks are showing.
It's possible. I mean, a lot of the post-production was done, all at home essentially.
Yeah.
So maybe that's showing through a little bit, but I didn't see any huge problems. I mean, I guess the giant tree wasn't exactly believable, but I thought I chalked it up to the kind of mythic sort of look that they were going for. If audience is still here, Ella has dropped out because of a poor connection, so I'm going to try to hook back up with her. Ella, you there? Ella, are you there? I'm going to have to do a song and dance if you're not there. You don't want to hear my song and dance. Oh, boy. All right. It could be me that's lost. I'm not sure. I'm going to pause the show for just 1 second. Don't go anywhere. Just imagine
Am I back? Sorry, it was cutting out. Am I here?
Are you there? Can you hear me? All right. Let's go to the lobby and get ourselves a treat. I'll be right back. Dive back in.
The weirdest thing that it was last week and this week that my Wi-Fi cut out.
I know. I blame your cat.
I mean, honestly, and you should.
Keep an eye on that cat.
He's trying to muscle open the door as we speak.
Did the call cut out? This is what I can do. All right. Well, let's get back on task. Tonight we've watched the third episode of Star Trek Discovery, Season 3, entitled People of Earth. We're here to break it down for you. And before we start, and as always, we are setting a course for the spoiler zone, listeners. So be warned, we're glad you've decided to join us, but if you haven't seen the episode, spoilers are incoming. The official synopsis for People of Earth is, reunited with Burnham, Discovery heads to Earth to find out what has happened to the Federation in the last 1,000 years. This episode is written by Byeon Kim and Erica Lippold, who are staff writers for Discovery and have written many episodes of seasons 1 and 2. They also wrote the short trek The Brightest Star, and they are the showrunners of the In Development Section 31 series. The episode is directed by Jonathan Frakes, which, I mean, what do I say about Frakes? You know who Frakes is. But fun fact, if you remember, Commander Riker was host to a Trill symbiont in the 4th season TNG episode, The Host. So I don't know if they were doing a deal there.
I forgot about that.
Trill and a human. The star date for this episode is 265.
That's my band name.
Trill and a human. Trill and a human. 265. 211.3. So there is a extra entire decimal on there. The first three digits are more or less consistent with the system used in the previous shows. I guess I have to confess that I do not understand how stardates work, and reading the memory alpha page about them only made me more confused. So I will take the show's word for it that this is the correct one. Here's some facts from our memory banks about the episode. In the episode, Stamets says that Discovery and her crew left from the year 2258. This means that part of season 2, presumably the last half, takes place at the same time as Star Trek 2009.
Ooh!
So yeah, in one part of the in the Star Trek galaxy, there is red lights and people going after that, and in another part, there's a giant Romulan spaceship comes through a wormhole.
I love that.
That's bad news, yeah. And
I mean, I am one of the few. I love that movie. I think I know it by heart.
Well, people can go back to our live show about
not without its flaws, but
yeah. No, I've changed my opinion about that movie. I do like it now too. Some of the guest stars for the episode include Christopher Heyerdahl, who plays Wen. He is the bug helmet guy. He is related to the only other person that you could possibly know named Heyerdahl, Thor Heyerdahl, the Norwegian adventurer who sailed 8,000 kilometers across the Pacific Ocean in a hand-built raft called the Kon-Tiki from South America to Tuamotu Island. And the actor, Christopher...
Right.
He's best known to television audiences for his recurring role as the Swede on Hell on Wheels, starring Anson Mount.
Ooh.
Yeah.
A connection.
Yeah, and here's another connection. Fumzile Sitole plays Captain Ndoye in the episode. She's best known for her recurring role as Akers on Orange is the New Black, which, of course, stars Kate Mulgrew.
I knew her from somewhere.
Yeah. No statue of her
amazing.
in Indiana, though. Yeah.
And, crime.
And Blue Del Barrio is introduced in this episode as Dira. This is Blue's first role. They studied drama at the London Academy of Music and Dramatic Arts. Nice if you can get it. And that is all we know about this person. And something that I think is weird is that I've read like 20 interviews, or basically just like, the same questions repeated a couple times, like maybe 3 or 4 different interviews with Blue about the role, and it's all about the role, and we don't know anything about this person. Like, not that we need to, but I'm just curious. You think like this, it's their first major role. It's very exciting for them, and you think they'd be like, well, I bet you didn't think about this when you were growing up in Iowa or whatever. Like, we don't know, no background or anything. So the actor, the character and the actor are both kind of a mystery.
So we need to get Blue on the show, and then you can do the interview.
Okay. See, the problem
is the better interview.
Who are Blue's people? I don't even know who to reach out to.
I thought you knew everyone. You don't know them?
This person? No, they're trying to make themselves podcast proof. I think that's what it is. I don't even know how to find this person.
We'll have to wait until inevitably the official Star Trek podcast has Blue on, and then we'll have all the answers.
Definitely. Yeah.
They'll figure it out.
Leave it to Paul F. Tompkins. Yeah. Let's scan for some new theories quick. Here's the new theory that I've been hearing around the water cooler. This is an alternate timeline. What do you think about that?
That I feel like in my head, that's what I've just been like categorizing it under.
Yeah.
I think I'll wait until they say it for certain, because I think it would be a lot. I think that there's no way to win at this point for them with a lot of fans. I feel like if they say, it's an alternate timeline, they'll be like, oh, that's lazy, and JJ did that, and everyone hated that, and we hate you. And if they're like, no, we're just making Star Trek, everyone will be like, but this doesn't make any sense. I support them either way.
Yeah, me too.
I think it would make more logical sense, dare I say, if it were an alternate timeline.
Well, I was trying to do the math, and also trying to remember if I've seen enough episodes of Star Trek Enterprise to figure out how it, because if at this point, where they are in the future in the 32nd century, 200 years before they lost all the dilithium, would that cross over with like Daniel's time in Enterprise, or was that affected at all by the temporal Cold War? I mean, it doesn't really matter. Like, who cares? You know what I mean? But
I do.
And I don't want it to be an alternate timeline. I think it's it's fine. Just write whatever you want. But
Yeah, I would like. Yeah,
but I think
agree.
that yeah, but I think they'd have to come out very explicitly and somehow say or discover like this is an alternate timeline. And I don't think they're going to do that.
Yeah, I mean, I also feel like it's hard right now. It's like it's not like we're not going to Comic-Con, and so if they're going to announce anything, they just have to go on like the CBS website, and some like intern types in like, by the way,
Yeah,
it's
right.
an alternate
Yeah.
timeline,
Yeah.
everyone. And so
You could get that job.
I almost literally. Um, I don't know. I agree with you. I don't think it needs to be an alternate timeline. I would like it to just be Star Trek. Like we don't have to like it's not like Enterprise was like, this is an alternate timeline. That's why everything is so screwed up. It's like they just were, you know?
Yeah.
Great example, right? Because everyone loves Enterprise. That's everyone's favorite Star Trek series.
Well,
but
yeah.
but I would like them to be able to do their own thing, and I'm very excited about that. I think that they might be doing that this season.
I hope so. We got an answer already about the burn. Maybe not the full answer, but we know what the burn is now, that all dilithium everywhere exploded, I guess. And so every Federation ship that was in a position to be disadvantaged by the destruction of their warp core, which would be pretty much most of them, was affected by this. Something that we talk about a lot on Enterprising Individuals when it comes up is the idea of representing tragedy in the Star Trek universe. Enterprise obviously developed before but debuted after 9/11, and I think that affected a lot the further development of Enterprise. Do you think that every Star Trek show needs a disaster now? Because we've had one in every new Star Trek show, basically, except for Lower Decks.
I think that many TV shows contain disasters. I don't think it's something that like a Star Trek show necessarily needs. I will say that as a film student, I have learned more about 9/11 and its impact on cinema than I ever thought that I would.
You guys watching that Nick Cage World Trade Center movie a lot?
Oh God. And I don't know, I think that there's going to be elements of everything, and almost like every TV show is going to have something devastating happen at some point. Even like a sitcom is going to have like a breakup or something that changes characters forever.
Yeah.
And so I don't think necessarily that a disaster needs to happen, but it certainly always makes for good television and some good character development. So I don't know.
I don't mean to be flippant about,
Oh, no.
9/11, but like what do you think Steven Spielberg's career would have been like without 9/11? I feel like
there's
every serious
so
project
much.
he's made in the last 20 years has been about 9/11 in one way or another.
There's so much television and cinema that would not be the same at all if it wasn't for 9/11, the way that it changed our culture in America and around the world. I think it's it's something big to dive into. I don't know how succinct I can be about it right now on the podcast, but that's some what would you call it? The generational trauma.
Yeah.
Is that a real thing? Is that
Well,
a Gen Z?
societal trauma. Yeah.
Yep. Yeah. So it's like, it's like a thing where it's like, God, I for the life of me can't remember the name of this movie that we watched one time in class. But it was set in New York in like 2004, and they didn't address 9/11 almost at all. But then there were these two shots just of planes flying over the city. And it was so unbelievably tense, even now, watching it now.
Yeah.
And the movie was, just horribly heart-wrenching and about grief in and of itself. But that kind of thing, like, changes. This is so, can you imagine, we're talking about digging into 9/11 on a Star Trek podcast, but it changes the way, an entire audience and culture interacts with media so much.
Yeah.
And clearly Enterprise tried to deal with that, and I think a lot of people would say that it failed. I think that a lot of people were just upset, as I think a lot of people are now, that they want Star Trek to be happier and not contain tragedy.
Yeah.
But I think it's good to, interact with difficult topics like that.
Yeah.
And especially, I think we've talked before in the podcast about this season seeming like they're trying to make a direct parallel to America currently.
Yeah.
And
we lack
with difficult, yeah.
Taking your metaphor at face value, we lack a charismatic populist figure on the other side who is.
Thank you. Yes.
Yeah, but Star Trek has always been bad with bad guys. I don't think there's a lot of good recurring bad guys in Star Trek.
I mean, I think that a bad guy versus like a good it's like Harry Mudd. He's kind of a bad guy, but that's like Q always screws something up.
Yeah.
But neither of them are like villains really per se.
Sure, yeah.
And so I don't know where I was going with that. I also feel like Star Trek isn't really a show that's ever had like, it's not really like a villain show. Like maybe there'll be a baddie like one episode.
Yeah.
Or you know what I mean? Or like for seven, let's say like.
Are you still there? Oh, we lost her again. All right. Well, that's a probably.
Oops,
Hello?
are we still here? I'm getting a poor connection.
You there? Are you there? Oh boy. All right. We'll do the thing where I turn it off and turn it back on again.
How are we doing?
You got it?
We're back? Yes.
Yeah. All right. Okay. All right. Well, we should. That's a sign that we were going too long. So let's get right to it. What'd you think of People of Earth?
I loved it.
And I guess
maybe not as much as last week.
Yeah.
Apparently. But yeah, I loved it.
I was frustrated by it. I gotta be honest with you.
In what ways? I always want you to be honest.
Mostly because, just because of like, not just because, for a couple reasons. But one of them is like what we were just talking about, how I'm fine with them doing whatever. If this is what they want to do, that's cool. But like, how well are you going to do it? How sensitively are you going to do it? What are you doing, exactly?
Mm-hmm,
If Star Trek, like the original series, just was doing its thing, and then it like did a hard left into the Richard Speck murders or something like that, or here you go, like Roddenberry always wanted to do the crew getting involved in the JFK assassination.
Yes.
Like he continually pitched that idea until they were like, Gene, just stop it. We don't want to do that. What are we going to do? We get that it's a public tragedy, right? And it's something that affected the nation, and you want to interface with that. But maybe Star Trek at that time wasn't the way to do it, because this is like a kid's show, right? And we're trying to sell color TVs. Well, we've evolved TV and drama so much since then that like we could do this now, but I don't know what they're doing, and I don't know how they're trying to get into it. And I like all the.
So, but let me ask you this.
Yeah.
I feel like I said what I said, and I meant what I said about 9/11 affecting everything about media and our culture.
Yeah.
But I also feel like anytime there is a public tragedy in TV or cinema, like 50% of people are like, clearly this is a 9/11.
This has to be
parallel. It must be a 9/11 parallel. So, which is also very like, what would you call it? Very like American. It's very.
Oh boy, I think we lost you again.
And the Federation is in America, and therefore, you know what I mean. But it's like, yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah, you cut out for a little bit.
Okay, am I back?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay, cool. So I guess what I'm saying is like, do we need to assume they're doing 9/11? Can it not just be like, oh, we like the dilithium blew up? What happened? You know what I mean? It's like any act of sabotage is so easily compared to 9/11, but it's like, do we need to? Because it's kind of smart, right? To be like, we take away everything that really like the main tool that made the Federation able to become
that's true.
What it did.
That's true. Assuming that we're going to get cut off pretty soon, I'll just, I'll try to make my point succinct. I agree with you. I think it's a good idea. I think there are always pieces of good ideas in Discovery, but I think that, we already talked about the fact that they're going to make the Federation great again. I think the American parallels are so clear that when a huge tragedy happens 200 years, or is it 20 years in the past of this society, you just have to, that's what they're doing. And so I think that to really explore this, you would have to take a lot of time. And Discovery has never shown, and especially in the third season, shows no patience for building anything dramatically. I know that it would be unfeasible to completely separate your main character from the rest of from the Discovery for the entire season, but she is immediately brought back, and there's a thing, in drama called showing and not telling, and we are just told that she has had a year of picaresque adventures with Book, and now they have a completely different dynamic, and sure, maybe
they did kind of hammer that point in. They were like, what if we do the Orion maneuver? And it's like, we get it that you're best friends.
You know each other, yeah. And then everybody continually tells Michael to her face that she has changed and she's different. They're really telling the audience they should just look into the camera. And that
scene with Tilly was sweet though, right?
Well, that was a sweet scene, yeah. But right after that, then Saru's like, "You're different," and then she's walking with Giorgio. Giorgio's like, "You got a little taste of freedom, didn't you?"
Yeah.
And I just don't know why we have to do all those back to back to back. Like, why aren't they spread through the development of her arc as a character, a new character, a different character over the course of the season? Also, introducing a character like Adira.
Yes.
It's also like she's such a unique character, and she's such a landmark character of the franchise. Why did they just slip her in like under the door? It's just more telling. Like at the end of the episode, they're like, "Oh, she's got a symbiont. Also, she's the guy."
That was crazy.
We're gonna go to Trill, and there's so many ways
that lasts 45 seconds.
Yeah, it's all in 45 seconds.
That was wild.
They could have hinted at it. They could have shown us that there's a mystery to her. They could have given it like at least one episode changeover. And I think it's just because we have to keep driving Michael Burnham and like the crew of Discovery forward. They have to be at the center of everything. And I don't think that that's always necessary. It reminds me, I can't believe it, but you're a media studies person. You should appreciate this. I'm going to give Lost a compliment. Whenever we meet a new important character on Lost, that character like takes over the show. It's like when we meet Desmond in the season 2 premiere, and we cut to him on an exercise bike, and you're like, "What's going on now?" Or when we meet Juliet,
episode,
it's a great episode.
Is etched into my brain.
And when we meet Juliet, and she's in the village, and she puts on Downtown, and she's about to cry, and we don't know who this character is, but it's immediately we're connected to this person. Let's follow them. Yeah. And I think I'm going to like Blue. I want to like Blue as Adira, but they just try to sneak her onto the show. And when you think about it, isn't she Wesley Crusher 2.0?
Oh, give her credit.
Got her.
No. Oh my gosh. As usual, you are right. I would like to give you some homework. Can I give you some homework?
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
Next week, and I hope to God the episode next week is good. I want you to come back with 3 things that you liked about the episode that made you happy, and then I want 1 thing that made you feel like you were watching Star Trek.
Oh, okay.
Do you feel like that's doable?
I mean, I could do that for this one probably.
Do you think? What are they?
Oh boy, I got to go over my notes. Seeing reddish pink dilithium made me know that this is Star Trek.
Okay, not something that made you know it was Star Trek. I want something that made you feel in your heart like you were watching Star Trek. Does that
Oh,
make
okay.
sense?
Yeah, it makes sense, but I would probably answer the question and then see the teacher after class and be like, why does Star Trek have to, like, Star Trek can be a lot of things. How can something just automatically make you think, oh, this is Star Trek?
Because it's about your feelings, Spock. It's not what you're thinking about in your head. This is why I wanted to give you the homework.
No, I gotta put my helmet on. All right, well, I'll work on the homework for next week.
Okay, thank you.
Saru's a captain, finally.
But and he so deserves it.
Yeah, for sure. And I was surprised at first that, and it's part of this, like, her Burnham's new attitude, but like I was like, he's not going to make her first officer right away, but they're getting to that. Like he does it at the end when they sort of reconnect. But I think that is cool. I also think that it's really part of his style, unless he's like freaking out and shooting spikes at people. But it was really part of his style to like. Here's our strategy. We're just going to like throw our body onto this problem. We're going to get in the way. We're going to defend whoever we can. And everybody on the ship's like, what are we doing? And he's like, we're Starfleet. We're going to protect these people. I'm not shooting first. I won't do that. I like that about him.
Oh, me too. And
it's going to get them killed, but I liked it.
Oh God, that moment with Detmer, where she's like, we don't know when she fights back was so tense and amazing. And it's like, she's right, they don't know, but oh my God, to question your captain in the middle of like a crisis. Oh my God.
Do you think that we're tracking the what's wrong with Detmer problem, or is that just like organically, what are we doing?
I think that was part of it. I think that whether I don't think it was like something that, like, let's say there is something wrong with her, I don't think she was being pushed specifically to question Saru.
Yeah. No
matter what it is that's wrong with her. I'm assuming something is still wrong with her, but I think that the overall stress and I'm assuming it's some type of like, oh my God, the voice is in my head, the noise, my head is buzzing type issue. Does that make sense?
Yeah, no, it does.
And that then you would be stressed and you would question your captain when he says, throw yourself on the grenade.
Is this it just seems like she has a concussion. Like, is this a space concussion? Is this a concussion that's invisible to normal sensors? Yeah.
I mean, apparently.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll find out what's wrong with her, but it's like, yeah, she hit her head. That's what's wrong. What else?
Something.
What's that?
I said a little something, something.
A little something,
wrong
something in the noggin. I really, well, here's another thing that I'm not sure about. I liked we talked about the scene between Burnham and Tilly before. That was sweet. And then at the end, she's like, you're different, you're lighter. And she's like, yeah. And then Tilly leaves and she's like, oh, no. And I didn't know if we're going to find out that did she do something really bad when like she and Book were running around? Like, is there something that she's holding on to that she isn't ready to face or to share with anybody yet?
I kind of thought it was more like when Tilly said, you let us go. I feel like it's more like the the unbelievable grief and trauma and tragedy of like her, like if she hadn't have come to terms with losing her crew, then like what is she supposed to do? Just be sad the whole time like she was before? Like instead of just be happy having like, I guess, a new best friend and a fat cat?
Your emotions are inefficient and confusing to me, but I think that definitely, I think, was a part of it. And I think it would have hit more or been more important if she wasn't like literally interrupted in her log, like when she's like, I guess I'll just have to let these guys go and beep beep. Oh, what's that? Oh no, screw this, they're back. Do you I almost feel like, I don't know, like this franchise will do a spin-off at the drop of a hat, but like I almost felt like I could watch a Burnham Book spin-off where they're just, she says that they're, it's just one eye, we're not pirates, but like I could see them doing some pirate stuff, like a short trek or something like that.
Yeah. Absolutely I could. Yeah, for sure.
I hope
wish they would.
I hope they explore that in the future. What's up with the UEDF? These jerks, they're just keeping
Hey, those
keeping
jerks.
stay off of Earth.
Get out of my lawn.
Yeah, right. I thought that we're going to go to the Trill Homeworld, I think, next week. So I'm not sure how much time we'll get to spend learning about the new like bosses on Earth, but I thought it was they're kind of hostile.
Well, they closed the doors.
Earth
the
is
pod bay
closed.
doors, Hal.
Yeah. Do you think that? So this is something that my girlfriend said when we were watching. Are we supposed to believe that every member of the bridge crew all went to the academy together at the same time?
I don't think they all, because they didn't say like we all sat under this tree together,
Oh,
but they were like, Tilly was like, I studied here, and then they were like, and then a couple of them were like, oh my God, me too, same.
okay.
You know what I mean?
Okay.
I feel like that they don't necessarily have to have gone all together. I feel like it's that thing where it's like on campus, it's like, oh,
Yeah.
I used to study here on the quad. It's like,
Remember
my
the
me
hot
too.
dogs at the student union? Yeah.
God. Freaking yeah.
Okay, all right, that's okay. I was taking it like literally. I was like, what were they a study group? Is there some Discovery version of Community that we're missing out on?
You just pitched the best television show that could possibly exist. Oh my God.
You'll notice there was one person who was conspicuously absent. The Osnolus, the flyhead guy. What, he wasn't invited? He didn't go to the academy? He's sitting in his cabin on Discovery, actually 1,000 tears coming out of his compound eye.
Oh my God.
It actually brings up a point that we probably don't have time to go into, but I wanted to log, which is like the idea of Earth as humanity's home has never been questioned in this future. And it's fine when it's not like Battlestar Galactica where they've left it thousands of years ago, but there would be so many other colonies and like stations and habitats and transplants to other worlds. Like Michael herself doesn't really even think of Earth as home. And then all the human characters on Discovery are all like, "Yep, I'm from Cleveland, and we all went to to the academy." There's got to be more than one Starfleet Academy, doesn't there? You can do correspondence like Starfleet Academy. You couldn't file millions of junior officers like through the doors of Starfleet Academy in San Francisco.
I don't know about that. I feel like it's like Harvard, right? It's like you can kind of go to like a good school, but it's like you can't just go to like Harvard in like Australia. Except maybe
that's what Australia is missing. They need a Harvard. Come on. They're not even trying.
Like, I feel like if you're going to go to Starfleet Academy, like you go to Earth. I feel like everyone goes to Earth.
Yeah, but if you join the Army and you're enlisted, you go. There's lots of different camps where you can have like basic training and your specialty.
Yeah, but they're
training.
all in America.
Well, yeah,
because
I mean,
we are the best, the most important.
Yeah, that's true. They do make the point of when all the ships blow up and they're like, how many people died? And it's like, it was like millions of people died. It was really bad. And I've always thought that like the roster of Starfleet, there should be like 1 billion people that work for Starfleet.
You think? I guess. I really never thought about it in numbers that big before.
Not in Kirk's
time. I guess
time.
those ships are...
There was like 12 ships in Kirk's time. Yeah.
Oh my God. I guess, I don't know.
Oh, go ahead.
No, I was like, I guess there must be. I know it's truly, I have never thought about it until this moment.
That's the kind of thing that keeps me up at night. Sitting stock straight in bed. Light on my Spock helmet going around.
You don't sleep. You just sit there thinking like how many you're doing by the numbers, like multiplying.
There's gotta be.
Like, there's got to be more. How
36
many?
sectors
How
in
big
a quadrant.
how big is that campus? Can you go to Starfleet Academy remotely?
Yeah, right. If you can draw this turtle, you can be a Starfleet officer.
If you can click two buttons and turn your camera off after 10 minutes,
Yeah.
then you can attend Starfleet Academy via Zoom University.
If you can touch random spots on this piece of plexiglass with a colored light under it, you can go to
Well, what was
Starfleet
that
Academy.
test? Wesley,
If you can pull a guy through a broken pipe
Yeah.
and get sprayed with a fire extinguisher, you can go to Starfleet Academy.
Oh, it's about your character, man.
Well, we're not going to top that. Are we done?
You could.
I think we pretty much covered it all. There's so much in the Discovery has done this every year. Like the first 3 episodes are really the pilot, or at least are the whole setup. So I think we've got the whole setup now, and now we're
And
gonna
now
see.
next episode, the season will start.
Yeah, well, yeah, no, but that's what happens. Now the dominoes are set, and they're going to start to fall.
Oh God, we have 10 more weeks.
Yeah.
Oh boy.
Yes, we do.
You sound so harrowed. You're like, yeah.
Well, it's just like everything else, I mean, it'd be like if you told me tomorrow, like the pandemic is over, I'd be like, oh, let's watch 10 weeks of Star Trek Discovery and do shows on it. But it's just like an exclamation point on this entire year. But it's good stuff, though. Trill stuff up next.
Yes. Oh God, I'm so excited.
That's going to be a real thing. Well, let's leave it there and call it for this week. Thanks for listening and sticking with us, listeners. If you like what you hear, you can follow us on Facebook and Twitter at EISTPod for updates. Get notified when new episodes of Enterprising Individuals and Discoverage are released. And you can tweet to us on the show by using the hashtag Discoverage or on email at eistpod@gmail.com. And while you're on the internet, why not head to your listening platform of choice and subscribe to our show feed. Give us a rating and a review because it really helps us out. If you want to help the show grow, stop by our Patreon page at patreon.com/EISTpod. And as always, if you like the show, tell a friend. Discoverage will return on November 5th for the 4th episode of Season 3 of Star Trek Discovery. That episode is called Forget Me Not, which will take the crew to the Trill homeworld. We'll be here next Thursday to cover it. We'll be going live once again at 7 p.m. Central, so join us then. You can follow us on Twitter or Facebook at EISTPod to get notified when we're live and broadcasting. In the meantime, check out our main show, Enterprising Individuals, at enterprisingindividuals.com. Every Wednesday on the show, I and a special guest discuss in excruciating detail a selected episode from a Star Trek series. We also have news from the Trek sphere and interviews with special guests. On our latest episode, I talk with producer, writer, and director Mark A. Altman. Mark is the showrunner of the CW's Pandora series, and he's the co-author of the 50-Year Mission, an oral history of Star Trek. He's also got a podcast called Inglorious Treksperts, where he talks with Trek personalities and industry professionals about Trek, and we have a fun little conversation about the history of Star Trek. And also, I have that interview that I mentioned before with Peter Kaczmarczyk from the Janeway Bloomington Collective. So check that out. You can hear that episode at enterprisingindividuals.com or wherever you get your podcasts. Ella, we did it. We did it one more time. Tell people where they can find you online.
You can find me at Generations Geek on social media and wherever you listen to podcasts. And my personal Twitter is at Gondor Gold.
Awesome. And I am I never say this, but I'm at KA1, the numeral 1, IBAN on Twitter. And you can find all of the shows on the Just Enough Trope network at Just Enough Trope online. And that is it for us. We are signing off. Thanks for listening. And this is Aaron for Ella saying, live long and prosper.